Welcome to homework.
Okay, so we are going to draw first S3-chloro 1-pentanol. And my recommendation when you run into these problems is to just guess at the stereochemistry, determine if it's right or not, and then swap it if it's not right. Okay, and what do I mean by that is, well, here's 1-pentanol, right? And we know that there's a stereocenter on 3 and a chloro group on 3. So I'm just going to guess that chlorine is on a wedge. Part of the reason for guessing that it's on a wedge usually is that means that hydrogen is in the back. When hydrogen's in the back, it's kind of easy. We know it's clockwise corresponds to R, and counterchlockwise corresponds to S. It's like sort of the standard rules for that. So all that's left then is says, okay, well, chlorine's on a wedge. Let's find out if that's right. Chlorine is the highest priority. These carbons are tied. These carbons are not tied because one has an OH on it. So this must be the second highest priority. This is the third, and we know hydrogen is in the back. We connect 1 to 2 to 3, and I get that that is counterclockwise, which means that this is S. Right. So my answer was, my initial guess that chlorine was on a wedge was right. And if I had drawn it on a hash and we found out that we got R, we'd just swap chlorine from being on a hash to a wedge, and we'd know that we've changed the stereochemistry sufficiently. Yep, so that's my strategy for that. Okay, next we have 2R3R 2,3 dibromo pentane. Again, I usually just guess that it's going to be a wedge. I'm going to draw pentane. I'm going to draw a wedge to a bromine on carbon 2. I'm going to draw a wedge to a bromine on carbon 3, right? Which implies that hydrogen is in the back here. Hydrogen is in the back here. Okay, is this correct? Bromine is the highest priority. The carbon with the bromine on is the second highest, and this CH3 is the third. Hydrogen in the back, that's clockwise. So it looks like we've got 2R properly. Is this one R as well? Bromine is the highest. This is the second highest. This is the third. Hydrogen in the back. That's R. Okay, so we correctly guessed wedge. We were just lucky there. But again, if we had gotten that this was S, for example, we would just swap it from a wedge to a hash. Okay, let's do 3-methyl-2-pentanol. Okay, again, I'm just going to put OH on a wedge, which puts hydrogen in the back. I'm going to put our methyl group on a wedge, which puts hydrogen in the back. Okay, OH is the highest priority. Carbon with 2 carbons attached is a higher priority than carbon with no carbons attached. This is clockwise with hydrogen in the back. That makes this R. But we wanted S. So here's an example now. We drew R when we guessed it to be a wedge, but we need it to be S. So all we need to do is simply swap. We will put instead OH on a dash. And we know that this is S because it was R when it was on a wedge. And if you flip a wedge to a hash, you flip the stereochemical designation. Okay, now we've got this carbon to contend with, carbon 3. We've got carbon versus carbon versus carbon. They're all tied, but the one with OH wins. So that's 1. Then we've got carbon with 1 bond to carbon versus carbon with no bonds to carbon. So this will be second place, and this will be third. 1, 2, 3. That's clockwise. That implies R. And R is what we wanted. We wanted 2s3r. So guessing a wedge was correct in this case. We don't have to make any further changes. Okay, last one. R12-dibromobutane. So I'm going to draw my butane, put a bromine on 1. This is not a stereocenter, remember, because it's got 2 hydrogens, just like this was not a stereocenter. Okay, and then I'm just going to guess, again, a wedge for bromine on carbon 2. We'll find out if that's right. That implies hydrogen is in the back. Assigned priority, bromine is the highest. A carbon with a bromine beats a carbon with no bromines, and hydrogen is in the back. Connect 1 to 2 to 3. That is counterclockwise with the lowest priority in the back. Counterclockwise corresponds to S. But we wanted R, so we've got to fix this. Bromine is not in the front. Bromine should be on a hash. There we are.